Okay, hello, this is GH101, and in this video we're going to talk more about what a computer is made of, and the way we're going to do this is with a homework assignment. So I'm going to take you through homework 1B, which will be building out a computer. Alright, I will do a more complicated version than you'll have to do, and then yeah, so you can just follow along and then do your own. So I'm going to give you a document that looks like this. The link will be up there after we put the video up. So you download this and start putting your information in. So that's me. I'm doing this, and I'm not working with anybody. So you're not really authorized to, yeah. So let's say for this one you're allowed to work with one other person. I'll mention that on the website as well. Alright, so what I want you to do is find any pre-configured system. So you could go out here and say Dell desktop computer. You can pick one that looks good to you, whatever you want. So you can just click through until you get one, and you need to go through and pick out kind of all the details. Okay, so you need to get to the technical specifications so that we're going to be able to do a good comparison. Alright, so you'll see information about the processor, that's the CPU, the memory, the storage, video card, all of this stuff. So what we want to do is have a pre-configured link. We have a link to a pre-configured system, and then we're going to go over and see what it would cost to build it out of just buying these things separately. All right, I'm going to do a comparison between a laptop computer and buying a similar desktop. Okay, so that'll be a little trickier because I'll be comparing parts for a laptop to parts on a desktop. For what you're going to do is you pick some desktop, and then you would just be looking up, this is the processor, and the website that we're going to use is newegg.com, and then we want to go and find the same CPU. So you would put in, if you were doing this Dell system, you would have, this is the processor. Let's copy that. Okay, so this would be the processor on the pre-configured system, and we want to go over to newegg.com. If you go to where they start, so Core i5 8400, then there's a couple different ones here that look like the same thing. There are differences here. So let's see if we can tell the difference, say, between these two. i5 Plus, this one's not listed as i5 Plus, so we're not going to do that one. This is a combo. These are combos right here. So then this is probably the one we would want. We would pick this one as the same, it looks the same, it has the same number as the pre-configured system, so you'd put down here the link and the cost. Okay, and go through all the different specs and build it out. Alright, so I'm going to do the laptop to see how it goes So what we can get for a laptop versus a desktop with the same kind of price or the same kind of features. All right, this is one of the laptops that's in the ISU configuration that you can get here at the moment. I'm going to save the link here in my document. Okay, and it's listing the 810 as the amount, and then I'm going to record the information here. So it's an i5 CPU, is an i5 8250U. All right, and that doesn't say the details of what that processor is like, so I'm going to go just look up some of the details of what that processor does. Okay, it retails for that. I'm not concerned about that because it's part of the laptop. The number of cores is 4, so it's 4 cores. And then the frequency is 1.6 gigahertz and 3.4 gigahertz. So this is the normal mode, and then it can go this fast if it wants to, but that takes more power. So I'll record both of those numbers. The frequency is 1.6 gigahertz, and then it's base 3.4 gigahertz turbo. There's a lot of information here. The ones that are the most important is the number of cores. So that's the number of processing units it can run 4 things at the same time. And then this is roughly how fast. And the 6 megabytes of cache is also an important number. So those are the most important numbers. This cache is faster than memory. If we go back to our what's inside the computer, we have memory, which stores programs that are running and is fast but expensive. Long-term storage, hard disk drive or solid state drive, stores information, pictures and videos and stuff like that. It's bigger and cheaper and slower. The CPU actually has its own memory, which is called CPU cache, which is even faster than regular memory, but quite a bit smaller. So on the CPU, it has 6 megabytes of cache, whereas our memory is going to be gigabytes, 1,000 times, something like 1,000 times bigger. But this is significantly faster. All right, so that's a number that we're interested in. Okay, that's the CPU. Now, go back over here and look at the memory. So it says that we have 8 gigabytes of DDR2400. That's the memory. So this is 8 gigabytes, and so DDR4 2400 is the type. So I'll look that up over here on my, let's see, Newegg. So I want to look inside of components inside of the computer. There's memory. So I'm actually going to kind of go down here and start keeping track of things. So size and speed. All right, so they're going 8 gigabytes. Let's see what it looks like for desktop memory. So without clicking on anything, I could click on, let's see, DDR2400. Sorry, DDR4 2400. And there's 16 gigabytes for $150. Those are all about that. And then we've got 8 gigabytes for $86. Let's take a look at if we get rid of that. So it was about $150 for the DDR4 2400. That's what we had there. Did that not? Okay, so if we just sort of keep going down this DDR4 3000, it looks like it's about the same price. The higher numbers here are faster. I'm just kind of looking to see what's the most popular at the moment. Which ones have the most. So it looks like probably this DDR 4000 is a current popular one, and it's likely to be good prices. That's not looking too good. So let's just go ahead on back to stick to the same number, I guess. Or we'll go back and just when we clicked into the desktop memory. All right, so this one here is DDR4 3000, 16 gigabytes for $165. If we want to go for 8 gigabytes, because that's what that laptop had. We'd have to, let's see, click through some more. Let's see, get rid of all of these. All right, these are $70. We'll just go ahead and pick the first one as something. If the prices were wildly different, we would want to know what's different. Okay, so I'll go with 8 gigabytes, and the speed is DDR4. Um, 2400. Okay, there's the link, and then the price that we have is $73. We'll bold that. All right, let's go ahead and look for the CPU. I'm not going to find this exact CPU because this is a laptop CPU, so I'm going to have to go through and look at components, CPUs, processors, desktops. And I want to pick something that's similar, so I'll look at the Core i5. And this Intel Core i5, it also says it's an 8th generation. That kind of matters, so I'm going to pick an 8th generation Core i5s. And so these are the only options. The cheapest one is this one. So I'll go ahead and take that one. So that's this. And my specs that I want is number of cores, frequency, and cache. All right, the number of cores on this, it says it here in the title, it's a 6-core. So that's more than the laptop one, but that's what we're getting. All right, and then the frequency is 2.8 gigahertz with 4.0 turbo. So we've got 2.8 gigahertz base, 4.2 gigahertz turbo. Cache, let's see what they say here, 9 megabytes. All right, and then the price, we've got $197. Okay, so we've got the CPU and we've got the memory, and let's take a look at the storage on this laptop. So that's the next thing it has here. It's a 128 gigabyte SSD M2 SATA 3 TLC. We can put that, so I'll put that in my document over here. So the size is 128 gigabyte. It's an SSD, and then we've got M2 SATA 3 TLC, whatever that stuff means. Let's just try it out over here and see what we get with searching at Newegg. Those are not right. So these actually are, this is a solid state drive, but that's made for yeah, that's a laptop solid state drive. So we'll have to see whether we would be able to fit that into our desktop or not. Are we going to be able to hook it in? Let's save that until we get something else. All right, graphics. So let's see what it says about the graphics or the video. This other information, so this is wireless networking. This other stuff, there's a battery. I'm not going to have a battery. Power. So this doesn't say anything about graphics, which means that this computer, this laptop, doesn't have its own separate graphics. It's just using the graphics that comes on the CPU. The CPU here actually has graphics, so the CPU has a graphics chip on it that controls the video. So that'll be, there's not one on the laptop, and this is included in the i5. All right, and I'm going to have then on mine, I'll have it included in the i5 as well. So that could be something that you have a separate graphics card. That would be a separate item that has its own specifications, which there's different numbers to list there. The biggest ones are the memory. So if you're going to have a separate card, you would have the memory, graphics memory. So it has its own memory just for doing graphic stuff. And this says, I don't think that's actually right. So we'll look at one of those, but we'll leave this like it is for now. Okay, so those are the most important specs on the laptop. Now, if I go down to my build your own system, I have a CPU, I have memory, I have storage, but so there's a couple other things that I'm definitely going to need. And we'll just go through the easy ones first. All right, so I'm going to need a keyboard. Let's see what a keyboard costs. Components, accessories, let's see. Where are they putting this? Let's just search for keyboard. I want a cheapo keyboard. Let's just look for one of these. I'm gonna sort by most reviews. So a popular item that's cheap. $15 looks good to me. And that is a keyboard and mouse. So we'll go with that, and everybody can go with that if you want to. So keyboard and mouse. So that's $15. So let's look at keyboards. So you can have wireless. That would be one thing that you're going to spend at least, say, $30 for a wireless. You can see what those, so there's 25 for a wireless. You can have different sizes, extra buttons to do volume and stuff like that. All right, the screen. So we have to look at our laptop to see what the screen size is. I believe this is the screen here, so it's a 14-inch screen. And let's see what, if we're getting our own screen on Newegg, what it looks like is kind of normal. So components, let's see, computer systems, peripherals, all right, monitors. So it's showing me 24-inch for $140. Let's do, again, most reviews. 24-inch, 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 27-inch. Let's keep it cheap. We'll go with Customer Choice Award winner. All right, and this 24-inch screen, that's $137. So the size is 24 inches. Price was what, 137. And other, so these other features do, so there's a built-in speaker. That's good. It does not have a webcam, so if we wanted to have a webcam, we could pick one out like that. Let's see. Let's say that we require built-in speakers. Built-in webcam. Okay, so we've got our 21-inch, 27-inch refurb. We don't want a refurb either. Refurbished means used. What did we have at the top here? Asus. If we want to have the built-in webcam, sure. You can buy a webcam separately, but we'll go with built-in. And now it's a 24-inch, and so we have a speaker and a webcam. And that's $188. All right, and these other specs do kind of matter, but we're going to ignore them. The response time and the contrast. Okay. So we've got our keyboard, mouse, screen, monitor, and then the other thing is we need to have something to put all this stuff inside of. And there's three things here that all go together. And I'm gonna, I think I wanted to, this is a picture of a computer case that's been opened up. So the outside here is the case, and then there would be a cover that would go on that when you're normally using it. The two things that I want to point out here, this circuit board on the bottom is called the motherboard. That's what everything plugs into. There's the CPU that plugs in there. There's a slot to plug in memory card. The drives hook in here. This is old. This is probably mid 90s. These cable. That's not the cables that are used anymore. They're different, but they're still cables. All right. So there's the motherboard there, and then this is the power. So the power cord from the wall would plug in here, and then this thing here, this power supply, has power cables coming out of it to go to all the different devices and into the motherboard. So the motherboard, the case, and the power supply all have to match. So depending on what kind of case we get, that says what kind of motherboard and power supply we might need. And generally, probably whatever I pick, you guys can go with as well. Let's take a look and see what it looks like. Components, so we'll start with the computer case. And there's different sizes. We'll go with the mini tower. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, so this would be, generally speaking, the size of computers around ISU or computer labs. This is not too huge, big enough to put stuff inside of. All right. And that's all they actually have for the Mini, which means that it's probably not super popular. People like to get the mid tower is a bit bigger, more room to put extra things in. People that are putting together their own computers often want something that looks cool. Let's go with the Mini though, because I'm comparing against a laptop, and the Mini's a better comparison there. And any one of these is probably okay. I'll go with the cheap one. Okay, so the specs that we have here, so we've got, so it's got room to put ports in, it's got room for a DVD drive if we want, it's got room for a disk drive or a solid state drive. All right, that's good. It's kind of cute that you can see through the side. There's the USB ports and audio jack and power button. If we look down here in the specifications, it's a ATX Mini Power, and it says the motherboard that we would need would be a micro ATX or mini ITX. Okay, so we'd have to match that up, and what I'll do is we can look at both at the same time. So components, motherboards, and so the motherboard is going to have to match the CPU. The CPU that I have is the Intel, so if we look at that again, it's Intel Core i5. That's the one that I picked out. So I'm going to need Intel motherboards. And why don't I'll put that up again. So it's Intel, and it says LGA 1151. So that's the dimensions of the processor that has to match the dimensions of the motherboard. Has to have a spot on there for that size CPU. All right, I would be looking for micro ATX and mini ITX because that's what the case said. Still sorting based on most reviews. And So generally it looks like there's options here around $100, but I would also generally want something that has good reviews. Let's take a look at this one. All right, so this here, let's look at a bigger picture. Bigger picture. There we go. All right. So this would be on this would get put into the case. So these are facing outside, and you've got your USB. This would be the plug in. The monitor is HDMI. There's a spot for an internet cable. These are spots for headphone and speakers to plug in. The processor, the CPU, goes in here. The memory goes in here. Disk drives plug in here. And this is room for a graphics card if we were getting a graphics card, but we're not getting a separate graphics card, so that actually won't be used. That all look, and then the power plugs in right here from the power supply. All right, I'm going to just go ahead with this one. So my motherboard is this. It's let's look down here. This is it's an LGA 1151. Somewhere it should say that it's micro ATX. There's the micro ATX, so it's micro ATX that matches the case, which is good. Micro ATX. So mini tower takes micro ATX motherboard. And did I have that open? So here, yep. And the price on that was cheap, so $27. Okay, so the motherboard was this micro ATX, and the price there was $80. So micro ATX is the total size, and it was an LGA 1151 to match my CPU that said it was an LGA 1151 CPU. Okay, these other numbers matter. This other stuff, whatever all this stuff is, does matter, but at least the ones that I've written down are the most important. All right, now we need a power supply. Components, let's see. Power supplies, all right. And the power supply, I had micro ATX was my motherboard and case. So I need micro ATX here. I'm sticking with most reviews. The big thing with the power supplies is the total amount of power that they can give that's measured in watts. For my little computer that I haven't really done a lot of add-ons, it's not going to need much. So any of these is probably going to be fine. I'll go with something that, so there's not a lot of people on this side who are buying micro ATX and reviewing them. See, I normally wouldn't buy something with 3 average review there. So if we were going to make sure that this is going to have enough power, so this 200 watts, that's the total that it can give. The CPU has a wattage rating this was the mobile CPU. So the mobile CPU is 25 watts versus my desktop CPU is something more. In the specifications, it'll say it's 65 watts. So I'd have to look up the how many watts is the drive using, how many watts does the motherboard need, how many watts does a graphics card. So I'd have to add everything up and make sure it's less than the power supply I'm getting. I'm going to go with this one. That's on the lower side, so if I was actually getting a graphics card, I'd have to make sure that's going to work out. But this is a 200 watt micro ATX, and the price is $55. All right, I think that I have everything that we're supposed to have. So if you have a desktop computer, you're going to have a CPU, you're going to have memory, storage. So what did I get? Oh, this was, all right, I don't have the storage yet. So this was a M2 drive, and I need to have somewhere that my motherboard, so everything's supposed to plug into the motherboard. If I click on this, I need to check to see, does it have M2? So that is in the storage. So it does SATA. It does not do, nowhere in here does it say that there's an M2, which means I need to go get it something else for storage. Right inside of here, somewhere it says that there's an SATA connection. So there's four SATA 6 GB connections. Let's go ahead and check out storage. So that was an SSD. I'm going to go for an SSD. So this is for a, let's see, we'll just, so these ones that look like blocks would be the right size, and these ones that look like chips, I don't have somewhere to plug that in the way I've configured it. Any of these would be okay. All right, so I'm just going to pick one of these. This one here looks great. It's actually bigger than the other one. It's SATA 3, 6 GB, and so that should work. So that's SATA 3, 6 GB per second. We'll just put it like this. The size is 256 GB, which is more than we got on the laptop. And the price is $67. All right, now I think we've got everything. So CPU, memory, storage, those are the three most important specs on your computer. The graphics is included in the CPU for us. The motherboard, power supply, case, keyboard and mouse and screen, those are potentially things that you could leave alone depending on what you're buying with your systems. The main difference would be if you get a mid-tower case instead of a micro ATX, you'll be getting an ATX motherboard and an ATX power supply, but it's fine to leave those as they are as well. If you want to Let's just go on HP desktop computer. Let's look at, okay, so this here is probably, that's probably a micro ATX. Something that's that size. So if you're looking at, so that's the size of a DVD drive right there. So this is a little bit bigger than an Xbox. That's a micro ATX, is if you're getting something comparable. It'd just be your like gaming or higher end stuff that would be potentially in mid tower. Okay, let's add this up and see what we got. So my total cost, we'll open up let's see, hold on. Okay, yep. All right, I'm going to add up. So $197 plus 73 plus 67 plus 80 plus 55 plus 27 plus 15 plus 188. All right, we got 702. Other features here that we didn't. So this has Windows 10, 3-year warranty. So that's pretty standard. Well, it's standard to have a 1-year warranty. The 3-year warranty that we're getting on this system is because it's an ISU purchase, and that's the standard for ISU purchases. I'm guessing if you try to look up this laptop on your own, you'll probably get a similar price, but it'll be a 1-year instead of a 3-year warranty. All right. So we came up with something that's $100 cheaper. It's got a better CPU. It's got twice as much space. It's a bigger screen because it's not a laptop, but we didn't get a copy of Windows with it, and we don't. The warranty, so note, no copy of Windows, and warranty is on each part. So the CPU has a warranty. It may say it in the specs. Probably it does. Let's see. Warranty and returns. So 3-year warranty on that part. But then I have to send that back to the manufacturer. I don't just take it to HP or whatever. And each part that we bought potentially could have a different warranty. 3 is pretty standard. All right, and let's give us, so we would give a summary. Let's put the summary up here. So I picked a laptop that could be purchased through ISU, at least I would be able to. The laptop comes with Windows 10 and 3-year warranty. I configured a desktop with similar specs, mostly. The desktop has twice as much storage, faster CPU, no Windows 10. I could buy the Windows 10 for maybe $100 or something, and warranty is per part. All right, and then if I cared about one thing or another. The nice thing about putting something together by parts, if I really cared about the memory, then I could go here and see what I could do if I want to increase the memory. If I add another $75, then I have twice as much memory. If you try to purchase a system from Dell or HP and you try to double the memory, it's probably going to be increasing your cost more than $75. Okay, let's say that's it. I will give you, for those in the class, I'll give you this file with things stripped out, and then you're going to go and play it yourself, and you can come with questions next time we meet. Apologies for the long video. Have fun.